Oh boy. Hello, people, and welcome back to another installment of my random crap I do on YouTube. I'm not even gonna like make any sort of like jokey comments or anything. This is just gonna be like a rant of rants, a nerd tangent, if you will, because I just got done watching like some Star Wars videos on YouTube, and I've been on this weird Star Wars binge, and watching all that stuff, made me remember. I hate The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. like, not even like I'm gonna get real specific here. Mainly Luke's death. First of all, Luke's death in The Last Jedi. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I know. If you like it, like if you found it to be a good scene or whatever, good on you. Good on you. But me, nah, nah. I didn't like that scene at all. That was, for lack of better words, I hated The Last Jedi. It's a very, very, very mediocre movie. I don't ever like it. I don't like watching it. It's just stupid. The plot is so half baked and just dumb, and it all just culminates with Luke's death. The problem with it for me is that it doesn't feel earned, you know? Like, it doesn't feel like he's earned that death. And what I mean by that is that if you really take time to, like, whatever you think about the scene itself is whatever you think, but, like, if you take time to think about Luke's actual role throughout the entirety of The Last Jedi, he's just this ornery, bitter, lazy old man who's depressed because he made one little mistake in his lifetime of training someone, and now he's like, oh, well, Kylo Ren went to the dark side. Oh, I hate life. I want to die on this planet. Jedi should die. Like, that's his whole shtick throughout the entire stupid movie. And then, oh, suddenly, now I'm going to do something and project myself across the galaxy to fight my nephew as a ghost. And then I'm going to die. Feel sad for me, people. No, I don't feel sad. He didn't do anything to earn that death. Yoda earned his death. Darth Vader earned his death. Obi-Wan earned his death. They all earned their deaths. Okay? Because they actually did something. They contributed. You know? Uh, Yoda, I mean, Yoda's the Grand Master of the Jedi, okay? He taught Obi-Wan. He taught Count Dooku. He taught Luke. Like, Luke was his last real pupil, and he taught him like everything he could before he eventually died in Return of the Jedi. And Yoda even himself says that he's earned his eternal rest, which I agree with. He did earn it. He earned it. All right? Like, man had big shoes to fill, and he filled them. Darth Vader, I mean, come on. Come on, it's Darth Vader. You know, he's been this whole soulless, robotic like slave to Emperor Palpatine, from his. And, like, we get to see him from, like, his youth in Phantom Menace, growing up into an adolescent in Attack of the Clones, and then his eventual peak and fall in Revenge of the Sith, and now him as Darth Vader, just this twisted, corrupt Sith Lord, with all this hate and resentment in him. And it takes his son, his own son, to finally bring that goodness back out of him, which happens in not Revenge of the Jedi, Return of the Jedi, where, he finally snaps out of his dark side motif and finally, like, defends his son, not as Darth Vader, but as Anakin Skywalker, as a Jedi Knight once again, redeeming himself at the cost of his own life. So his death is actually earned. We feel that. Like we've seen this guy through A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and now Return of the Jedi. Just as this force of evil, like the last person you want to come into contact with, and now he finally, at this point at time, redeems himself. He saves his son from death by Emperor Palpatine. He goes against the Empire. He essentially kills the Empire itself in the form of Palpatine, which we'll get into that later. But it's earned. But Luke in Last Jedi didn't do anything to earn his death. Like what? You just did the Force Ghost thing to get Rey off your back? Oh yeah, big deal. Yeah, yeah. It's like it's like the most Jedi thing to do. Yeah, he solved it without violence. He solved it up. What do you mean without violence? If the Jedi don't use violence, why do they have laser swords that can cut limbs? Oh, excuse me. I mean laser swords that may or may not cut your limbs, because if the sequel trilogy has taught us anything, it's that, long rods of plasma flowing energy, depends on how hard you hit the person. Because, I mean, you could just be like Kylo Ren, have a nice scarred face, or you could be like Luke and Anakin, have a free amputation, you know? It really just depends on how hard you whack the person with your laser sword. That's really what the sequel's teaching us. But, it's like he doesn't do anything. Like I just don't feel like he earned it. It rubs me the wrong way, and it, like, people who defend it, again, you like it, but for me, I just can't. I just can't defend it. It's terrible, terrible, terrible. A terrible scene to end off a terrible movie, and what a terrible way for Luke to go out. I'm sorry. It's just not the way I envisioned Luke Skywalker to go out. It would have been more impactful if Luke died in Rise of Skywalker. In fact, it would have made much more sense if he died in Rise of Skywalker. Like, maybe he could have been with Rey to... Oh god, now I gotta get into this, but he could have been with Rey to face off against Palpatine, and that's just like real last stand, and like now that he's helped bring peace back to the galaxy, now he can rest and die in peace and happiness. Like, wouldn't that be much better than what we get in Last Jedi? Oh, by the way, can we talk about the scene that like precedes that whole Luke death thing? The battle with Kylo Ren. I'm sorry, this is nitpicking, and I don't care, but it's my video. I can be nitpicky, but what the crap was that scene? What the crap was that supposed to be? Here I am in the gosh darn theater wanting a gosh darn duel between Ren and Luke. It's supposed to be the update of Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader. Master versus Fallen Apprentice. I was hyped for this. And then we learned that, it wasn't even Luke he was fighting. It was a ghost. How disappointing could you... Like... Ugh. Sorry, just... it's so disappointing. It's so disappointing. Why did they do that? Why did they do it? Gosh darn you, Disney. Why did you do that? You could have saved the movie with that. You could have saved it, but no. He has to be a ghost. He has to die in the most mediocre and unfulfilling way. And then we get to Rise of Skywalker. Okay, we're going to get off of Last Jedi. Now we get to Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker, starting things off, is the worst Star Wars movie ever made. I hate it with a passion. If you want to watch it, don't. You're not missing anything. It is quite possibly the most confusing, the most horribly written Star Wars movie I've ever seen in my life. And it starts off within like the first few seconds of the movie, because guess what, people? Palpatine is back. Why is he back? Who knows? Why is he back? No, seriously, why? He died in Return of the Jedi. It was established. It was canon. So now he's back. So essentially what happens is that Rise of Skywalker said Return of the Jedi happened, but Palpatine's death didn't happen. That's what I feel. I feel like they just retconned the whole entire ending of Return of the Jedi because Palpatine is back alive, I guess. Like, what? It doesn't like he's back alive in Rise of Skywalker only to be killed again. Why bring him back if he's going to die again? It doesn't make sense. Why bring him back if he's just going to die again? It's pointless. It's absolutely pointless. Like, why would you bring him back just to have him be killed again? Like, what? Not to mention that the sequel trilogy just introduces quite possibly the lamest and just out of nowhere Force ability ever, Force healing. You know that scene where Rey just puts her hand on the worm creature and it like heals his wound, and she's like, "Oh, I transferred a bit of my life force energy to it and it healed it." That was a terrible impression of Rey, and I'm sorry for that, but like, what? Force? When? What? When could? When could Jedi do that? When? Why has no one tried that with Yoda, Qui-Gon Jinn, Darth frickin' Vader? Why is it introduced now? How long has this been a thing? What? What? Oh, and speaking of unfulfilling deaths, how about Snoke in Last Jedi? How about him? Right? The big bad of Force Awakens, this shadowy creature who taught Kylo Ren and all that stuff, the supreme leader of the First Order, who's essentially built up to be, the next Palpatine. How unfulfilling was his death in Last Jedi? His whole appearance in Last Jedi. How unfulfilling was it? Are you kidding me? That's the supreme leader? He goes down that quickly? Like, oh my god, people. Like, when we talk about Star Wars, I always tell people, because we're in this day and age now where Rise of Skywalker and Last Jedi unfortunately exist. I always say that The Force Awakens is the only decent Star Wars movie of this age. It's the only one that I can recommend as a decent Star Wars film because it feels the closest to a George Lucas film. It feels the closest to those. Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, non-canon in my opinion. Non-canon. I don't believe it. I just don't believe that they deserve to be canon. I just don't. Last Jedi's plot is so stupid. You want to know what the big crux of the plot is? Oh, the Resistance is running away from the First Order, but the Resistance is running out of fuel in their ships and they're slowly getting blasted away. Okay, and? Oh, and there's also this subplot of Finn and this one girl named Rose going down this planet trying to find some code breaker who can like hack into their shields and turn off the tracking system for the First Order. Okay. Oh, and there's also the subplot of Rey trying to convince Luke to stop being a lazy piece of crap and actually get off his butt and do something. Okay, and? Like, none of this is fulfilling. Okay? Say what you will about Attack of the Clones, but I will gladly watch that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again than Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker combined. Also, by the way, I'm going to receive hate for this, but I don't care. Attack of the Clones is a good Star Wars movie, people. Stop hating on it just because of the stupid Anakin and Padme romance stuff. Okay? Brush all that aside, okay? Yeah, it was a bit it was unnecessarily drawn out for as long as it was. I don't feel like it needed to be that drawn out, but it does establish Anakin's eventual fall from grace in the next movie. It establishes that connection. And even then, it has a good air of like a murder mystery, Like there's this whole thing where a bounty hunter's trying to kill Padme, right? And we learn that it's Jango Fett. But then we come to the question that, well, Jango Fett's a bounty hunter, right? Bounty hunters get paid, meaning they get hired for jobs. So someone hired Jango Fett to kill off Padme. Then we get introduced to Count Dooku. You know, a former Jedi Knight, now a Sith Lord, master of the master of Qui-Gon Jinn, Padawan of Yoda. And it's a darn good movie. I will say it's a good movie. I like Attack of the Clones. I like it. I don't care. I don't care. I like it. It's certainly a better put together movie than Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. That much is for sure. That much is for sure. Like, I don't know, man. It's just. It just. Luke deserved better, man. Like, we're expected to feel sad for his death because he's Luke Skywalker. Okay, big whoop. People didn't feel sad for Vader's death because, oh, he's Anakin Skywalker. Oh, yeah, he's Darth Vader. No, we felt sad because now because we see that he can redeem himself, and he did. He saved his son from dying. Okay? For the longest time, we knew him as just this robotic-like person who only killed and only caused destruction. But like Luke said, there was good in him. He even goes on before he dies. He tells Luke that he was right. There was good in him. Like you know. I also like how he's like, "Tell your sister you were right about me." Like, well, okay then. I mean, I was gonna do that anyway, but okay then. Now that you told me to do it, I don't know, man. It's just Luke's death needed to be more. It needed to be more impactful. He needed to do something, not this Force Ghost shenanigans. Like, what's that even supposed to be? And he dies from that. He dies from that. What, is he that weak? I get he's old, but is he that weak? Like, what? Yoda lived longer than Luke, right? And in the prequels, Yoda was still a old bag, right? He was still super old. But then you look at this fight with Dooku, with Sidious. He's doing all these acrobatic flips and whatnot. So what's Luke's excuse? Oh, he hasn't been connected with the Force for so long. Okay, and you want me to like play you a sad violin song while you're at it? Like, what? It's just I'm sorry. It's just it got in my head that that whole entire sequence just freaking angered me. Like, I don't feel anything but hate for that scene. I don't feel anything hate. I don't feel anything but hate for The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker especially. I'm sorry. I hate that movie. I hate it. It's the worst Star Wars film. You're not going to convince me otherwise. It's the worst Star Wars film ever made, and I can't believe they even thought it was a good idea releasing it as it was. They needed to delay that movie for another year and rewrite that script because, oh my god, what a terribly written movie. Terribly written, man. Just, Force healing, bringing back Palpatine because I guess. I mean, it's just, Last Jedi's plot was so unnecessary and so half baked. Both of those movies deserved a rewrite, man. They deserved a rewrite of the script. Like, I can't believe I just can't believe they did this. Oh, by the way, am I spoiling these Star Wars films for people who haven't seen them? I'm sorry, but these movies suck, so you might as well not watch them. But anyway, I'm like, see, I'm not what you call a diehard Star Wars fan, But I have seen episodes 1 through 9, and they're good. But 8 and 9 suck, man. They just suck. They're the whole reason why people hate the sequel trilogy, you know. They're the whole reason people don't like the fact Disney is doing Star Wars. Like I said, Force Awakens is the last decent Star Wars movie we get, people. I'm sorry. But it's like the closest one that feels like a George Lucas Star Wars film. The last two just are so not Star Wars. I'm sorry. It's just not Star Wars. I'm sorry. Again, for people who like those movies, good on you, you know? Good on you. I'm curious as to what you see in them that I clearly don't, because what I see is very poor writing, a half-baked plot, half-baked deaths. Kylo Ren's death in Rise of Skywalker makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. He heals Rey, kisses her, and then dies. Okay, okay. I would have preferred a little more from him, but okay. Like I don't know. The ending. Oh my god. The ending of Rise. The ending of Rise of Skywalker also just upsets me greatly. Like, okay, so in Rise of Skywalker, it's established that Rey is actually. I can't believe I'm saying this. That Rey is Rey is the granddaughter of Palpatine. Wrap your head around that for a second. Granddaughter, not daughter, granddaughter. So, meaning that Rey's parents are related to Palpatine. Rey's mother is Palpatine's daughter. This now raises the question of who was Palpatine's wife? When did he have children? When? When did he have children? Oh, well, I'm sorry, but that's not explained. I would love to have an actual explanation for it, but we don't need to know. He just has a granddaughter. We don't need to know why he has a granddaughter, how he has a granddaughter, when did he have a granddaughter. Nah, it's not important enough. It's not. Anyway, so Rey's established to be a Palpatine, and at the end of Rise of Skywalker, she goes to Tatooine and buries Luke's and Leia's lightsabers in the dirt. Um, excuse me. Then this random old lady comes up to her and asks who she is. She says her first name Rey, but then she like looks over and sees a force ghost of Luke and Leia. Uh, and then she looks back and then she says her last name is Skywalker. And at that point, I was in the theaters, and when I heard that, I was just like, "Wow, really, 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 you're gonna do that?" Like, I'm sorry, that irked me in a way that it shouldn't have. It shouldn't have irked me, but it did. And I hate the fact it does. Why does she go with Skywalker? I don't get it. She is a Palpatine. Okay, Emperor Palpatine was evil. That's him. She is she clearly killed Palpatine, saving the galaxy. Why would people assume she's evil now? She just saved the galaxy. She has a whole resistance of people that will back her up. Like, what? Why does she go with Skywalker? It's stupid. It's stupid. It's another stupid mark on Rise of Skywalker stupidity. It's amazing just how much dumbness is found in this movie. It really shows that they didn't know how to end Star Wars, so they said, screw it. Palpatine's back. Rey is now Skywalker. What? Cause we need a Skywalker for this film, and we don't have one. Cause we killed the last Skywalker off in Last Jedi. Oops. That was a mistake calling the final Star Wars movie Rise of Skywalker when, oh, there's no Skywalker in this movie. Oh, there is Luke, but he's a Force ghost, so he can't really do much. Oh, I know. We'll just have Rey change her last name on the fly to Skywalker. Bam! Now we got a Skywalker. What? That's such a stupid. This is why I say Luke should have died in Rise of Skywalker. It would have made more sense thematically. Oh, Luke is the Skywalker, so now he's going to help Rey face off against Palpatine in the last stand of good versus evil. And, that's going to be Luke's last stand as a Jedi Knight, as a user of the Force. And then that moment, he dies, being at peace, saving the galaxy, bringing balance to the Force, you know, fulfilling his father's legacy, That would have been a more poetic death for Luke than, oops, I projected the Force Ghost for too long. Well, let me stare into the sun and die. Speaking of deaths, how about Leia's death in Rise of Skywalker? I mean, is it just like a staple now where if you're old you can't use the Force at all? Like Leia, poor girl. I mean, good grief. It literally took everything she had, and the best she can muster up was saying Ben's name, and then she dies. That's it. That's it. I'm not even kidding. She says Ben's name once, then she dies. Then she dies. That's it. Like, what? Why are we killing off these veteran, time honored characters in the most dumb way possible? That's like having Qui-Gon die because an anvil fell on him. It's like having Yoda die because he slipped on the banana peel and broke his neck. Like, why? Give us something more, people. I probably sound like a spoiled brat and someone who doesn't know what they're talking about right now, but man, like, it just was unnecessary, okay? It was unnecessary. I'm ranting on about this way too much. I think I'm just rambling at this point about random crap, but I'm sorry. It's just it was it was so dumb. So dumb. And I hated that. I hate Last Jedi. I hate Rise of Skywalker. They're two of the worst movies, two of the worst Star Wars movies ever made, and I would not recommend it. I would not recommend watching them. You will literally miss nothing. I'm serious. You will literally miss nothing. You know? I mean, if you want a good summary of the Rise of Skywalker and Last Jedi and just what they mean overall, just go to The Last Jedi and watch the beginning scene and watch the scene of Rey giving Luke the lightsaber and just see them and get to the point where Luke throws it over his shoulder into the water or whatever. And there's your perfect representation of what The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker did to the Star Wars franchise. That's pretty much a good representation. Like the lightsaber, like okay, Luke is himself and the lightsaber is nice to know. Luke is Disney and the lightsaber is, Star Wars. And Disney quite literally just threw Star Wars away. Like, we don't need this. we don't need it. George who? No, we don't need him. We're Disney. We can do this ourselves. And I just need to vent that out for I don't know why, but I just needed to vent it out. And yeah, that's all I really got. So if you made it this far, thank you for listening to me go on and on about Star Wars. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I can't do much about it, but man, just it was terrible. It was terrible, awful. Anyway, I'm not gonna drag this on any much for any longer than it has to. So thank you for watching. And I will see you whenever I do another video. I don't know. Yeah. Bye.